I'm sure you're all aware of Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison, the leader of rock band The Doors. Both are unfortunately a part of the 27 Club, along with Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones, Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain of Nirvana, and Amy Winehouse. Are you aware that they once met? If not, I'm going to tell you the story of when they first met. Producer of the late 60s and 70s, Paul Allen Rothschild was known for his work for The Doors for their first 5 albums, and Janis Joplin's second and final album, Pearl, that was released in January 1971, and just 3 months after her death, sadly. Rothschild had the idea of the king and queen of rock and roll meeting each other. They met at a party in Hidden Hills, as both were sober, also getting along just fine. Jim was fascinated by Janis. Janis was fascinated by Jim. Janis loved sex, so when she was taking a good look at Jim, she said, "I want that." Yes, Janis wanted a piece of Jim Morrison. Janis did look like she was freaky when it came to sex. They were drinking a lot to the point they got drunk. Janis was a charming drunk. Jim had his problems with alcohol when easing his pain. Jim was a disgusting drunk to the point that he would become rude, obnoxious, and violent. When people have an alcohol addiction, 100% of the time, the person's behavior can change, especially when becoming violent. Janis went from being turned on to turned off by Morrison's drunken behavior. At one point, Janis says she wants that. She pretty much didn't want it anymore. So every time Janis rejected him, he loved it even more. So Jim Morrison was into women rejecting him. Janis told Paul, "Let's go." And they went to the band station. Jim follows her to the band station. Janis told him to F off. The Lizard King, that was Jim Morrison's nickname, the Lizard King was not going to take no for an answer. What does he do? He reached into the car, grabbed her hair, trying to get her out of the car. But she grabbed her Southern Comfort whiskey. Janis loves Southern Comfort. Then she, BAM! Hit him on the head, leaving Jim out cold. I bet he had a Family Guy moment. You guys remember that one cutaway when Peter narrates his life to the point it pisses off Lois and he punched she punches Peter and he wake up several hours later in the days? That was obviously Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison awoken several hours later in the days after being hit in the head by Janis Joplin's favorite whiskey, Southern Comfort. I bet when he was out cold, Janis probably called him jerk or asshole when he was unconscious. Who knows? The next day in rehearsal, Jim told Paul about his love for Janis. Jim Morrison was madly in love with Janis Joplin. As he said, "What a great woman. She's terrific. Can I have her phone number?" Physical confrontation was a thing. He loved violence. Why did he love violence? Who loves violence? So Jim Morrison was so in love, like that Tyler the Creator song, the song "You're Too Effing Young." Day that I met you, girl, I knew that it was something special. That's what Jim was feeling. The day Jim met Janis, he knew that it was something special. Paul Rothschild asked Janis if Jim could see her again. She, out of respect, didn't think it was a good idea. Paul told him, "Janis doesn't think it would be a good idea for you two to get together again." Jim was crushed, and they obviously never saw each other again since they both died at 27, now part of the 27 Club. If only Jim Morrison would have been sober. That night would have been totally different. Janis wouldn't have thought of him differently. At least Jim got with his girlfriend Pamela, a redhead. She was pretty. Too bad Jim and Janis never collaborated. And imagine Janis and Jim as a couple. If it wasn't Jim and Pamela, imagine Janice and Jim as a couple. That would have been interesting. Maybe it could have worked out if only Jim Morrison was sober. It was cool that they met. Too bad it got ugly due to his drunkenness. People like Jim Morrison could not control their liquor. If you can't control your liquor, that's a sign that you need to stop and get help. So, this has been my story of the Jim Morrison and Janis Joplin when they met. So, tell me your thoughts on Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison meeting each other. And you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving, gobble gobble. And I know you can't wait to eat a lot of Thanksgiving food, all stuffed and whatnot, later.